Alright, so we have another battle report, this time going against the Demons of Chaos. I played it last night. It was an absolutely epic game, probably one of the most interesting matchups I've ever had in Warhammer Fantasy. So, yeah, you'll notice the big thing on the board in the lower left. That would be his Bloodthirster. Great, great model to represent just an absolutely vicious monster or whatever he is out there. Jeez Louise. Can't wait to see that one painted. So, for deployment, he's got his Bloodthirster on the left. And the big question I'm asking myself is, what demonic gift did he give that guy? Because that's gonna, he's pretty nasty as it is, but some of the gifts he can get are really scary. Next to him he has some Furies. He's got a unit of Bloodletters, then a unit of Pink Horrors, and there's a Herald of Tzeentch in the middle of that. He's using a spawn to represent it, but that Herald is supposed to be on a small base, and so we're treating it as if it is on a small base, and there's three other guys in the unit, and you can see those three guys at the top of the board. So that's what that is. Then he's got another unit of Bloodletters. This one has a Herald of Khorne in the front row on our left, represented by a Minotaur model. And that one concerns me because he's a BSB, and I am particularly concerned that he might have the banner of Chaos Glory. That's a 125-point banner that makes all demons within 12 inches stubborn. And yeah, so those are my concerns at this stage of deployment. He's got some Flamers. I'm concerned about them. They get D6, I think strength 4 range attacks, so they're pretty nasty. And then on his far left flank, my far right, he's got 6 Fleshhounds and another unit of Flurries over there. So in looking at that, the whole board, I need to secure my right flank. I don't need those guys coming in at me from over there. I'm mostly concerned about his general, but I also need to get rid of that BSB just in case he has that stubborn banner. So on my left, starting from the right side as we're facing it, I got to put some Pegasus Knights, my reserve unit of Knights Errant, my big unit of Knights Errant, my Grail Knights with the Damsel, and then my general on the hill. And all those guys are there to make sure that his lord can't just run rampant across the board. So I'm thinking I might be able to tie him up with my flying units and then ram some other guys in there to get some combat res, but not sure what I'm going to do. It really depends on what he does. But that's why all those guys are bunched together in that corner. And if you remember from previous battle reports, my general is specifically equipped to be a monster killer. So looking at the numbers, if I take my general into his Bloodthirster, even with all my equipment and everything, I still lose. But it's still the best chance I have with it, and that's his job, so he just has to deal with it. Anyway, next to that I have 20 men-at-arms. I've got 10 skirmishing bowmen. Got a unit of 9 knights. 8 of them are Knights of the Realm. 1 is my battle standard bearer. Then next to them I have 10 peasant bowmen. Here's a better picture of them in front of the impassable terrain. My trebuchet, more bowmen, another Pegasus Knights unit, my fast cav, and then my Knights of the Realm. And those units are over there mainly to make sure I can secure that flank. He's got Fleshhounds and Flamers and Furies over there, and so their job is to make sure those guys don't roll me up. So of course my people are praying for the ward save, so he takes first turn. He inches his Fleshhounds up, but they're out of reach for my Knights. I'm not sure I'd charge him anyway. Flies his Furies up, and again, I'm concerned about that unit. Those flying units, and it's a big enough unit, concern me because they can get the charge on my Knight units and then tie me up, and so he can countercharge me with somebody else. So I'm very concerned with them, and again, I don't really like those Flamers too awful much either. On the other side of the board, he marched everybody up as much as he could, flew his Furies out there. Same concern with this group of Furies, don't need him tying me up. And his lord, I think he's respecting my general. We've played before, he knows what I do, so he moved his guy up, but not within reach of my general. Plus, it's probably not smart of him to just come charging down my ranks anyway, so he's probably going to wait till we get in combat. So on my turn 1, I decided to go ahead and charge those Furies with my Knights Errant. I think with between wounds and combat res, I can kill them all and overrun into his Bloodletters. And I'm not sure if that's going to get me out of charge reach of his general or not, but I didn't feel like I could sit around. I could afford to sit around and let his Furies dictate what happens across the board. So I moved my men-at-arms up just to provide some combat res support should I need it. I moved my BSB up a little bit, and again, I don't want to sacrifice that unit, but I need his BSB dead. And so they moved up, and I'm looking at his BSB the whole time, wanting to get in contact with him. The problem I have is my BSB has to issue challenges, and I'm sure he has a champion, so it's probably going to take me a couple rounds of combat, if I'm lucky, before my BSB is going to be able to do any wounds on his BSB. At the same time, though, if he issues a challenge with his champion and I take it with my BSB, that frees up the other knights to, at least one or two other knights, to do some wounds on his BSB. And that Herald's pretty tough, but he only has 2 wounds. So anyway, those are the thoughts that are kind of dictating what I'm doing on the board. Just a close-up picture of the knights in action. Put that manual in there because I thought it looked pretty cool. Finally getting to feel my knights painted, and though I'm not fantastic, those units do look better. And thought that was pretty cool. So, looking at the table from my opponent's point of view, just so you can see the other side of the table, yeah, I took my Pegasus Knights, and they were barely within reach of his Furies, and so I think I can win that combat, even though it might take me a couple turns, but I like that because I don't need his Furies charging my BSB unit. Then I took my Fast Cav, and I'm putting them up as a sacrificial lamb for his Flesh Hounds. He really can't do much with his Flesh Hounds besides charge me, and he charges me, I'm going to flee. Actually, what I was thinking I would do is, I don't know what I was thinking I would do. But anyway, I didn't set it up wonderfully, but my intent was to set it up so I would flee, and then I could get a flank attack with my Knights of the Realm up there in the corner. So here's just another close-up. And the only thing this is really showing is maybe a different view, but it also shows I took my Damsel out of my Grail Knights unit. She had a magic missile spell, and she's out there. The one weakness the demons have is they're only toughness 3, so she's out there trying to whittle some of them down. My shooting was pretty ineffective. My Stone Thrower did land and kill a few horrors. But amazingly, in combat, my Pegasus Knights, between wounds and combat res and all that, wiped out that unit of Furies and got a free an overrun into his Flamers, which means he couldn't do a stand and shoot. So things on that side of the board are really looking good for me. I think I got a little bit lucky there. So on this side of the board, my Knights Errant do a fair number of wounds and won combat by just a whole bunch. And that's when I found out that indeed he does have the Stubborn Banner. And I am now in trouble because his Bloodthirster is going to crash into the side of that unit and more than likely wipe him out and be able to overrun. And if I'm lucky, he'll hit those men-at-arms. But my guess is he might go as far as into the flank of the BSB unit. And yeah, that's just going to really cause me a lot of problems. So now we get to his turn 2, and yes, his Flesh Hounds charge my Fast Cav, I flee, and this is where I found out I didn't set it up wonderfully, but if you look at those base models of his Flesh Hounds, especially if you put them together, I was barely in his flank zone and not in his frontal zone. And my opponent's the one who pointed that out to me, so I got lucky there because I didn't do a very good job of setting that up. But on my next turn, it does look like I'm going to get a flank charge on his Hounds, assuming I can pass the fear test. And you can see the Pegasus and the Flamers are up there just locked in combat. So this is where he comes in, and this is where I find out that he has Dark Insanity. Now what that does, instead of 7 attacks, he gets 2d6 plus 2 attacks, so a possible 14 strength 6 attacks coming at me. And I'm just shaking my head at this part of the game. I am in so much trouble. And again, look at the angles of things. I don't know if he's going to, if he overruns, if he's going to get my BSB unit or not, but it's just not looking pretty right there. So we're still just on turn 2. The demon moves in, and things just really could not have gone better for me. I think with his rolls, I think he ended up getting 9 attacks. He hit on quite a few, wounded on almost all the ones he did, but my armor saves and my ward saves saved all of them except 1. And so I directed my attacks towards his Furies, got some wounds there. So I ended up actually winning combat, and the BSB was within 12 inches, and his Bloodthirster's leadership 9. He rolled an 11, so got a couple wounds on him through combat res, which was, I could not have hoped for more. So now he's set up for my general to charge him. I've got some other units back there, and there's just a little bit of hope. And we'll see what happens soon.